Hello everyone, welcome back to the Panzer Dragoon Remake playthrough. I have done you all a favor and edited out the load times because they are bad. It's my number one issue with this game is the load times are like 30 to 45 seconds long every time you start a new level and when you die. So
okay, first you could have just it was a black screen, so you could have like chroma keyed funny stuff while it was loading. The other is obviously sand, worm, sleeper has awakened, blah blah blah.
Blah. Dune. I have not read or watched Dune.
Oh god, I thought I was alone in the universe.
Dude, Dune is like, what, a 3-hour movie and a 600-page book? I don't know.
One of many books.
Yeah, I mean, granted, I'm pretty sure like the 30 and up crowd probably is more, like, nagging you. I'm sure a lot of the young, hip kids like the analytics show that BrainScratch Commentaries viewers are. We are hip with you, young crowd. Lit, slap,
Please stop.
Leet. Okay, I will. Anyway, at the end of the last part, I was mentioning how making games like this is hard, and I feel like a lot of what the people kind of graphically were complaining about when the game first came out. I wouldn't say a lot of people. This game generally seems to have been received a lot better by fans than critics.
It's less the graphics are bad, it's just there was clearly a lack of trying to be cutting edge the original on the Saturn was trying to be, so it feels disappointing in that regard.
Yeah, this is definitely a game that was made on a budget, and I think part of the reason why I think a lot of people are disappointed by the graphics is that realistically speaking, it's hard to make a game like this and have the graphics be cutting edge because this is inherently a game that's pretty fleeting. It's meant to be short, and the environment you're meant to go through is meant to be like sped through relatively quickly. So because of that, making these areas like really detailed and really like graphically cutting edge is a lot of work for arguably very little payoff.
It's the Sonic the Hedgehog problem all over again.
Yes, it is. It is a very similar issue to Sonic. Only Sonic gets a bigger budget because, you know, it's Sega's baby. And I feel like that's a part of a reason why games like Star Fox have a lot of problems. I mean, this game, you know, say what you will about
I'd say the biggest problem Star Fox has as a franchise is that after 64, Nintendo can't seem to decide what to do with it.
Well, I think that's part of the problem. This game gets around the difficulty in making the game's graphics cutting edge by saying, okay, we're just going to make it a budget title so that the game exists. And, you know, if the graphics aren't as good, well, so be it. Whereas for Nintendo, they don't usually have that mentality. And so, if they're going to release a Star Fox game, they're going to try to make it as graphically pretty as they can, but that also means putting a lot of work into it and making it a $60 release.
And that means
also has the problem of you can't release a 1 hour $60 game, so they generally put in a lot more fluff, which results in the problems that games like Star Fox Assault or
Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sonic the Hedgehog, actually.
I think they could get around that by... Okay, the problem with Star Fox is that they keep changing everything for no real reason instead of just doing what everyone asks them of, just do 64.
Yeah.
Stick with that. What they should be doing is, instead of trying to necessarily make ground or stylus or walker and all this other stuff, they could just do what 64 and the original did, is just have more routes that where if you get better or do different things, you go on different levels and stuff.
Well, you know, I don't necessarily have a problem with them trying to evolve the Star Fox 64 formula. The problem is that their mentality and the changes they did make was flawed. In the same way, again, that mentality, it's the same as the Sonic the Hedgehog problem, really.
Star Fox and Sonic have a lot of similarities.
I keep coming back to that, but it's true. The other thing I want to mention, though, well, I had a train of thought that I wanted to voice about like 2 minutes ago, but I...
was it about what Ryan said about alternate routes and stuff like that?
No, it's it related to something that you were saying, actually. What I was trying to say is that here it was. The other problem, though, is that being cutting edge now is a lot more involved and expensive than it was at the time of, say, the Sega Saturn. Back then, you could
Yeah.
you could be cutting edge with a small team and a small budget. You just had to be smart about it.
At the same time, graphical returns are diminishing more and more.
Yeah.
And they have a better handle on what good HD graphics looks like. So while it involves more people, you have a better idea of what that looks like now.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's also like something you really, really need a big team and a big budget to accomplish. Unless you want to have a small number of people take a long-ass time doing it, which a lot of companies don't really want to do, because that kind of
might,
defeats the
in
purpose.
some cases, end up being more expensive than just putting more people on the project to begin with.
Yeah.
I mean,
lots
I
and
don't
lots of,
know the specifics, but I'm sure that's a possibility.
Lots and lots of man hours, and if you want to get it done in a reasonable amount of time with a small number of people, you're going to have to, hire them on for overtime and pay that overtime. So it becomes
Yeah,
an
and
issue.
at that point, just give them the extra staff instead of making them work 80-hour weeks, which is another problem that game development has. But we're not gonna get into that. I guess basically the thing is that when it comes to games like these, I don't necessarily think that they necessarily need to be super complicated. It's a matter of scope, and I think I agree with Ryan in the sense that they should expand the scope, but not in ways that detract from what makes the game fun. Yeah, because what makes a game like this fun? Flying through cool areas, shooting down lots of dudes, and
getting a high score.
High score and fun set pieces. Not stopping and slowing the game down for length. And I think that's why a lot of people had problems with... I mean, it's frustrating because Star Fox Zero did almost everything that it needed to do. It just also felt like it needed to be the one Wii U game to try to be a Wii U game as opposed to Xbox 360 and Xbox 60.
The thing about these kind of games, Panzer Dragoon, Star Fox, Nights into Dreams, etc., is that
Nights too.
The biggest and most important thing you need to nail is the pacing.
Yes.
When you slow things...
Night's Journey into Dreams on the Wii had terrible pacing.
Yes, that is exactly what I was getting at. All those levels where you had to walk around really slowly as the kids really brought the game down, and it's because it brought down the pacing. Whereas Nights into Dreams, you can argue that it's not as good as it's cracked up to be. That maybe a lot of what it gained in terms of fan appeal back in the day was just the wow factor of being that kind of game at that point in time. But
for a Saturn game, it is gorgeous.
Yeah,
I will say.
Yeah,
that.
Very
as
much.
Someone who's not a fan of Knights personally, I don't like the way it plays.
Yeah.
It's similar to Panzer Dragoon in that A, it was beautiful for the time, and B, it's got that short, sweet, replay it a whole bunch and improve your score kind of mentality that, again, Sega's just really, really good at.
Yeah, and a lot of that comes down to the pacing. You hop into a level, you become knights, you fly around. You fly through the level, you finish it, and then you're off to another level. It's
for games like these, being a little bit shorter isn't a bug, it's a feature. It's just a matter of, is the game fun enough to make you want to keep on coming back?
Right.
Is the most important thing.
And to get back to the Sonic the Hedgehog comparison, after I slogged through all the Werehog stuff and finished the game, one of the things that I would do pretty much every day for a while, right after waking up, was just pick a random daytime stage and play through it.
Yes, exactly. That's back when I was Sonic Adventure 2, when I was playing that a lot as a kid. I would go back and replay individual stages just for fun a lot of the time, not even to try to get the A rank on them or whatever. It's just I think playing Metal Harbor is fun. I'm going to replay Metal Harbor. Mm-hmm. It's not the same exact... I mean, I would argue that the 3D Sonics are more arcade feeling than the 2D Sonics, although the 2D Sonics have some of this element to it, but I feel if most people are going to play Sonic 2, it's not that they just want to play Chemical Plant, it's that they want to play the entire game.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people will load up Sonic Adventure or Sonic Generations and just play 1 or 2 levels and then turn it off.
Yeah, and that makes for a very fun little thing that you can just keep going back to. It's part of the reason I'm kind of disappointed that Sonic Forces is so janky.
And the levels are less than a minute.
Yeah, that I think that's also a problem with that is that the Sonic Forces levels go and leave before they can feel satisfying to complete.
Yeah.
Because again, I think something that we mentioned is that games like these struggle with length. They feel like they're too short, and they don't want to, they don't want to be sold as a $30 to $60. I mean, Sonic Forces at the very least had the right idea in being cheaper than full price.
Yeah.
It was like $40.
Well, it was an idea it took from Sonic Generations, but yeah.
Yeah. But Sonic Generations was also a longer and more fulfilling game.
And not
at the same price.
Not really longer, but definitely more fulfilling. There's more than one way to get pacing wrong. I mean, a lot of the time when people talk about bad pacing, what they mean is that things take too long, but you can screw it up in the opposite direction too.
Yeah, that's, I think, Sonic Forces' problem, in that the levels end before they begin, and there's no real interesting set piece to make the level kind of flow. I mean, I'm sure you've all seen that chart, the one about the pacing that you're supposed to have for a story, where it's like beginning, it's down low, then it goes up and up and up until you hit the climax, and then it goes
Then you dip
down.
a little bit.
Yeah. In theory, a good level, especially in a arcade game or a game like Sonic, should also have that same curve where, you go along, there's some ups and downs, and then you have the climax, and then it ends. The best example I can think of off the top of my head, and it's a basic bitch example, but I'm gonna go with it anyway, is City Escape. Because, you start off, it's exciting, you do the slide down the streets, and then, you land and you go to the ground section, and then, there's a couple of cool parts, like the big loop that has you run down the building, and then, like, that's another high point, and then it dips down again for a little bit of more normal platforming, and then at the end, the climax, there's the gun truck chase.
Yeah.
You run away from the gun truck, level's over. So, that's a very basic example of that kind of thing. Whereas in Sonic Forces, the level just kind of starts, and it goes for a bit, and it ends without much in the way of something exciting that causes those peaks. Oftentimes the level will be over before anything like that has even happened.
Yep. That's pretty much the case.
Yeah.
That's another thing Star Fox 64 did excellently in most of its level design.
Yeah.
A few exceptions, like Katina, which is the Independence Day level, where it's just all range mode the entire time.
Yeah.
But those are meant to be like pseudo boss fights more than anything.
Well, the boss fights, I think that this is something where Star Fox and Panzer Dragoon, they get to have that climax at the end, in a sense that, because they all end with a fun boss fight. Whereas some other games, like some Sonic games, don't get to end with that climax because, it's just like, oh, you just ended the level. I'm gonna give credit to Sonic Mania here, which, I hate Sonic Mania. It's the worst game ever. Wow, Bray the Flying Squirrel
Fourth
exists.
Mania playthrough.
The boss fights in Sonic Mania were really clever and fun ways to cap off stages. So they worked as very fun set pieces in Classic Sonic, where Classic Sonic does have some of that stuff, but it's generally not as flashy as something that's usually in 3D. So I think that that's an element that they did very well in terms of pacing for that game.
Of course.
Also, my gameplay for this run is terrible. I'm like just not dodging. Oh, here we go. I dodged. Wow, look at me.
Do a barrel roll.
Okay, that's okay. If I'm gonna nitpick about Panzer Dragoon for a moment,
It needs some chatter.
yeah,
That's one thing I will unequivocally give Star Fox 64 credit for, is that I know there are obviously some people who don't like all the constant chatter and don't like the character voices and all that. The character voicing in that game makes that game's pacing so much better, because you're not just there's not a lot of dead time in that game.
True.
Okay.
And the dead time is used effectively by having the characters talk.
At the same
That is
time,
true.
though, this game is trying to go for a more serious tone overall than something like Star Fox.
Yeah.
Especially...
Not saying this game doesn't work. It's just Star Fox 64 used that very effectively.
Especially Panzer Dragoon Orta is going for a more serious tone. Like, yeah.
Do they have characters talk to each other in that game, or just in cutscenes?
Not as far as I've played into it. I haven't beaten it yet. But in Orta, you start out as this mystery girl in prison, and a dragon breaks you out. So it's serious stakes from the get-go. So having a bunch of chatter wouldn't have made sense.
Okay, well, we'll have more super serious dragon action when you come back for the next part of Panzer Dragoon. We'll see you then.